we're live. This is crazy. Holy moly.
Oh
I
boy.
can't believe it.
It's almost like it's 8:50 p.m. Eastern time on a Sunday.
I know, right? Isn't that
Crazy.
weird? Why would they do that? Why would it be 8:15 p.m. on a Sunday, Eastern Standard Time?
Well, luckily it's only 5:50 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh, you know what? I'm hearing it now. I'm hearing just a little tickle in your throat. How are you feeling?
It's still I'm definitely going to cough a little bit.
Oh
I'm
boy.
definitely going to cough a little
Whoa,
bit
it's starting.
during the show. The cough is there if I talk too much or talk a certain amount. So it'll be there, but otherwise I'm fine.
You know, I do kind of I remember that from when I had strep throat. Remember my whole ailment back in November?
Mhm.
Boy, that sucked. But yeah, it was the same thing. Like I would be okay, but as soon as I started talking for a video or something, I was just like
Yeah, that's definitely that's definitely gonna be me tonight, as you can already tell.
ugh, that's unfortunate. I mean, you know what? I COVID is COVID is becoming a weird thing. That's my hot take. COVID is a weird thing. I feel like it's kind of interesting because there are other sicknesses. Like when I had strep that lasted way longer. I had that for like 3 weeks. I was like, "Hello, can I please move on from this?" But with COVID, you always have, the potential for it getting worse or long COVID or spreading it and you got to quarantine and it's even if it's a mild case, I feel like it's more of an intrusive sickness.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because like I don't know, the long COVID is really the thing that gets me, and I'm hoping
Mm.
that I don't have that. I feel fine, so I'm hoping that didn't happen. But the long COVID is the thing. Like I was very fortunate that the worst of my symptoms lasted for about 16 hours, I'd say,
Oh,
and
wow.
then yeah, the worst of it was really not that long. And then there was, a day or two where I didn't feel great, but I felt meh. And then now I'm at the point where I feel mostly fine. I have a little bit of a cough, as you've heard. And I don't know, my voice is not 100% normal, but it's mostly back. And obviously, I attribute a lot of it to the vaccines. And I think I had a relatively small viral load, so it didn't end up being
Mm.
super bad. That's my theory, at least. But I don't know. It's just because like in that regard, you can look at it and be like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was like a cold. It's whatever. But then there's just like the long COVID and the things that it can do to people that are more more vulnerable. There's just like there's
Yeah.
other aspects to it that are just so tricky.
What have you been doing with your roommates and stuff? Because you've all been there, right?
Well, actually, so my one roommate got COVID before me. My theory
Oh,
is my theory is that I got it from him. No offense to him, or no
no shade.
blame, no blame being intended. But he had it for a few days. He got it a few days before I did, and it was a lot worse for him. Or
Mm.
the bad part lasted a lot longer for him than it did for me. Um, and then my other roommate, I was actually planning to leave anyways, so they left. They left the day that I was the sickest, actually, but now they've been away for that whole time, and they have not tested positive. So I think they managed to escape.
Damn. That's kind of what happened back in February when my girlfriend got it, and we had been together the whole time, and I didn't get it. I don't know how.
Yeah, I
It's one of
remember.
those weird
I remember that.
things.
Yeah, it's
I don't
it's
have an
just
explanation.
the this my my COVID is the weirdest thing because it was right after I was on a trip. We went to Mexico City, which was a very cool trip.
Mhm.
Um, but my roommate got it the day. I think it was like the evening before we left was when he started feeling not good. And then I got it a couple days after we had returned. But the other two people, there were 4 people on the trip, and he and I got it, and the other 2 people did not get it. And one of the other 2 people slept in the same bedroom as my roommate who got it. But that
What?
guy didn't get it. I don't understand, because my first theory was, oh, it came
Bruh.
from Mexico. But then the other 2 people didn't get it. And so now I honestly have no idea what happened, and you can never know. It's just so
Yeah,
weird.
dude, contact tracing COVID at this point has become so impossible that you just kind of go, well, I had it.
Yeah.
There it is. That's basically all you can do.
Yeah, there's so you can never know, and especially in a case like mine where there was like international travel involved and other stuff.
Oh
You can
yeah.
never know where it came from. You can never know who gave it to who or whatever. And it's whatever.
Well, we're glad that you're back. We're glad that you're feeling okay, and you're actually back just in time to be gone for the next. How many? What's our schedule? How many weeks are we out?
Our schedule, let's see. Well, I was supposed to be out this week as well, but I pushed my flight back, which
Look at
enabled
that,
me to do
folks.
this. I'm
COVID gave
here
us a
for it.
bonus episode.
That's right. I powered through. I wasn't able to make it last week. I know you had a nice show with Sam, which is great, and I'm back this week, and then I'm off. I think the next 3 weeks, I will be. I will not be here, so maybe you'll do another show, or maybe you'll take those times off, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I'll probably try to get a little guest action on here for at least some of that, but I definitely won't be here next week because I'm going to be in Italy, probably going to get COVID there too. So, wish me luck.
Yeah, that's I do wish you luck, but I'm glad that the I don't know if you talked about this at all last week, but I'm glad that the timing worked out with the MacBook Air launch and your trip.
Dude, I was cutting it so close. I was sweating so hard because we had to lock in our trip dates. And I was like, dude, if we go away and then like 3 days into being in Italy, it's like, hey, guess what? The new MacBooks are out. I would have probably killed myself. Not actually.
Yeah, that would suck. But luckily it worked out. Very
I
lucky.
was so relieved. But oh, and actually, you know what? I will wait until we are on the podcast to tell you about my ordeal that was MacBook launch day.
Oh, I didn't hear anything about this.
Yeah. It was, oh my gosh, dude, it was a mess. And I'm literally making a thumbnail for tomorrow's video right now as we speak. I'm frantically, I've been working all day trying to get this video ready. So I hope that it gets a lot of views. I hope that people like it because I started with about 78 minutes of footage and then cut it down from there. It's been a long couple hours here, folks. So I apologize if I sound a little weary. But I think we can probably just get started here. Why not? You know what I mean?
This is some dedication right here. We got, working on this video, working on this thumbnail. We're getting started here. Folks, this is some serious dedication right here. Gotta appreciate
That's
it.
true. All right, should we get started? Get all your coughs out first, all that stuff. Oh, there we go. That's a good one.
All right, let's see what we can do here.
All right, let's fire it up. Welcome to Dark Mode, the podcast that brings you sage advice from 2 technology experts. And that's not just what we call ourselves, it's what our moms tell people when the MacBook is or is not Air. I'm your host, Luke Miani.
And I'm your host, Noah Rubin. On this show, we take questions from listeners, attempt to answer them to varying degrees of success, and maybe even have a laugh or two along the way, or maybe a cough or two along the way, in my case.
Now, today we got to talk about the MacBook Air. Now, So have you seen one in person, Noah?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I can get you kind of close by showing you one next to a 14-inch MacBook Pro because I have to say, before we even talk about the controversies and the SSD, the thermal throttling, this all sorts of stuff with the M2 MacBook Air, I have to say the form factor is unbelievably good. It is wonderful. Here's a 14-inch, same
Okay.
thickness as our 16-inch MacBook Pros, obviously, as we know.
Hmm.
Let me add a MacBook Air on top of that. It's really thin. Look at
Yeah,
that.
it's a lot thinner.
It is, dude, this is one of the most pleasing laptops to hold. It's so light. It's so thin, it's smooth. It doesn't have sharp edges. The old design was great, but the edges were sharp. And that meant that you'd be like, ow, oochie owie, if you were holding it. And also, those corners would get scraped up a little bit. Your 2018 MacBook Pro, you probably saw that before you put your case on it. How
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
those razor sharp edges would get so many little scratches.
Hmm.
But with this design, it's so durable and rigid. You're not going to get those little scratches. You're not going to get, weird little bendy corners because the old tapered MacBooks had those really thin corners that would bend all the time. Oh, this is the best MacBook Air that they've ever made. It's great.
It's a bold statement, but it does look. It makes sense. I mean, I love the MacBook Pro design. So take that, make it thinner, and that's pretty good.
I want a 15-inch one.
Of course.
Like this size, this thickness and design on a 15-inch screen. Oh, that would be so good. For like 1600 bucks, I would buy the crap out of that. But I did notice something, Noah.
What's that?
Or I should say I didn't notice something. Obviously, as with the new MacBooks, um inside, right? There's no MacBook Air text on the screen.
Hmm. Hmm.
But look on the bottom.
Ooh, nothing.
It does not say MacBook Air anywhere on the body. Isn't that weird?
That is weird, and it makes me think of the product identifier thing. I'm assuming you saw that as well.
Yeah. Isn't that I did see though that applies to other Apple Silicon as well. Let me
Okay.
check. Fortunately, I happen to have a wealth of points of comparison. So my 14-inch MacBook Pro here, um, that shows up as, oh gosh, they did a weird stuff. I'll show you this on the screen. Wait, I'm a liar. I'm a liar. The model identifier is MacBook Pro on here.
Yeah, mine as well.
Ah. Someone said that they had done it elsewhere. Let me look on the Mac Studio. Okay, the Mac Studio is Mac 13, 2,
Hmm.
and the MacBook Air was 14, 2. It's weird that they have
Interesting.
that with the Mac Studio, the same naming scheme.
Yeah, I don't. That is weird that they're both like in the Mac. They're both just Mac. That's weird that they would, because I guess you said like 13 and 14. Like, why are they in the same number? The same number
Yeah,
system. It's weird.
and why are they both Mac when they're not even the same like type, right? One is like a Mac Pro desktop workstation, and one of them is an ultra light ultrabook. It's kind of a weird. I don't know. I kind of I maybe this is a conspiracy theory, but I kind of think that Apple considered calling this the MacBook.
Yeah, that's the I guess sort of the rumor that I read that goes along with this discovery, and also the text on the bottom, which I didn't realize, but it's certainly possible. They
Hmm.
definitely could have. I could have seen them keeping, like how they've decided to keep the 13-inch MacBook Pro around, even though they have the 14 and 16. I could have seen them keep, the existing MacBook Air around, and I guess they could have still called this one the MacBook Air, but they could have called it the MacBook and kept the old one around as well. It's not implausible.
Yeah. I feel like okay. I think Apple has the higher end MacBook Pro situation pretty much sorted out, right? They they said, "All right, no more 13 and 15. We got 14 and 16." They have a consistent design language. They have very logical pricing. It fits like a glove. You know, it's $100 or $200 difference to go 14 to 16. All of the configurations, everything fits together like a perfect little puzzle. They clearly put a lot of time and energy into that. But now when you look on the lower end, it's a mess. You've got this mix of the old design and the new design, the old chip in the MacBook. Dude, yeah, it's like a three-way Venn diagram, right? Where they each have one thing in common with one other thing, but not both. So when you look at the MacBook Air, it's got the MacBook Air name, which it shares, but it's got the same chip as the MacBook Pro. So that's the two-way Venn diagram. And then the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro both have the old design language. This is the new one. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense, and they're all within 1300. They're all within $300 of each other.
Yeah, that area down there is Apple still selling the original MacBook Air, or did they discontinue that one?
The M1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're still selling it.
They're still okay, so now they're selling the M1 MacBook Air and the M2 MacBook Air
Yes.
and the M2 MacBook Pro, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's a
Why
mess.
the
That's
MacBook
such a
Pro?
mess.
The MacBook Pro was redundant 2 years ago, and then they put a chip in it and did nothing else to it, and we're like, people are gonna buy this, and they were like, and everyone was like, no, we don't want that. Nobody wants that. Like, I my conclusion from the MacBook Air video that I posted today was to the effect of the MacBook Pro is pointless because its only real tangible benefit over the MacBook Air is that it can sustain its performance. So it has slightly better scores in, benchmarks and exporting and stuff like that, but only in stuff that is going to soak the heat sink. Only in times where you're going to run into that thermal barrier. Short tasks basically have no difference. Um, let me pull up my benchmarks here because I do want to double check myself. But I think even in video editing, there was negligible difference. Um, so it's like it comes down to the MacBook Pro's only purpose for existing is having better performance over a sustained period of time compared to the MacBook Air. But if you want that, why are you going to pay extra money for like the tiniest little extra bit of performance, and then also a worse display enclosure port situation, the touch bar, the old design? Like, you get all of these downgrades just so you can get 5% better performance. And then as soon as you spec it up, you might as well just buy a 14-inch anyway. So it's like, I don't really know why it exists.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've tried to make sense of this before, and I don't think that there really is. I feel like the simple answer is if you want the cheapest good Mac, you should get the M1. You get the M1 MacBook Air like refurbished because you can get a good
Mm,
price on that. If you want a good solid new laptop, get the new MacBook Air. Obviously, you have more experience with it than I do, but it seems like a great computer and a great form factor and whatever. And then if you need more power than that, you should just, go to the 14-inch MacBook Pro, and you're getting that same sort of design language, and I guess a little bit bigger of a display, but it's very much a logical upgrade because it's the same design language, sort of the same system in general, but you're going up to get more performance at that point. So that's what makes sense to me. But I don't know what you think about that.
I think, yeah, I think you're right. It really just comes down to, I think whenever you're finding anything in the M2 lineup, you should be very cautious of how much you're spending, because as soon as you get into the upgrades, just stop what you're doing and buy a 14-inch MacBook Pro. Like, that's literally all there is to it. Let me share my screen and I can show you what I mean. So here we are on the buy page for the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now, if you do find yourself here on the purchase page for the 13-inch MacBook Pro, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the top and you're going to hit the back button and get out of there, because you don't want to be on the purchase page for the MacBook Pro. So go ahead and get out of that.
All right.
Go to the MacBook Air, which is a real laptop that you do want. And then it makes more sense. Okay, so here's how I would shop for the M2 MacBook Air. I'm going to simplify this for all of you guys who are cool enough to be here watching us live or listening to it. All right? Because all those normal people who just watch my videos and don't come to the podcast, they're not going to know this. They're too dumb. All right? So, we start with the base model. If you want to use your MacBook for performance heavy tasks, you have to first understand that it's not a performance intended machine. If you're doing like big, like grindy tasks that are going to be maxing out your system a lot, you really shouldn't be looking at a MacBook Air. It's not a good fit. But video editing, photo editing, coding, all of that stuff, you totally, absolutely. So if you're looking at the base model, then you do need to acknowledge that you're gonna miss out with that base SSD. It's a real bummer. It's really stupid and annoying, but Apple did essentially nuke the base model. So if you need any amount of performance, I would say the first thing you're gonna do is upgrade your storage. That's not just because of the extra performance, but also because, let's be honest, if you want a machine that is usable in any remote sense for professional tools, you probably need more storage anyway. So Apple is going to extort you, and they're going to win because you need that storage, you need that speed. They're going to get $200 from you just for that, which is mind-bogglingly expensive and very stupid. But at that point, I'm not going to lie, I don't think you need the 10-core GPU. Again, CPU's the same. The GPU is maybe 20 or 25% different. So if you do need those extra cores, it's $100. A bit steep, but not worth it, if that makes sense. So that basically puts us up now to the $1,500 model. And by the way, you'll notice it just bumped us up to the 35-watt power adapter. So you get that thrown in there. I hope you enjoy it. But here is where we get to the part where I think you should probably start pumping the brakes a little, because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, you should test it with 24 gigabytes of memory. That might make a difference. Or maybe you need a terabyte of storage. And then all of a sudden, whoa, I'm spending $2,000 on a MacBook Air. What the heck is going on here? This is getting out of hand. Even if you pair it back to 5, 12, and 16, right? You've got yourself an M2 MacBook Air with realistically only 2 upgrades, right? You've got the RAM and the storage, and you're already at $1,700. And here's the problem with that, folks. $1,700 is so close to the 14-inch MacBook Pro. So very, very close that I really, really, really would caution against making that purchase. Right? Like, do you think, Noah, that the 14-inch, I mean, you don't have one, but the 16 inches, it's the same thing but smaller. Do you think that the 14-inch is worth an extra $300 compared to that MacBook Air?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have hands-on experience with the MacBook Air, but I think, I mean, if you look at the performance numbers, like the MacBook Pro is meant to be, the more performance computer. So if you care about the performance, and if you're making these upgrades to the MacBook Air, it probably means that you do care about performance. And I feel like at that point, you're probably going to want to go with the MacBook Pro. There's not a huge difference in terms of other things. Like the MacBook Air is pretty much the same, design language and all that. I think the display on the MacBook Pro might be a bit nicer, or the bezels are smaller, or something like that. But
Mhm.
not that much of a difference. I feel like at that point you're talking about performance, and that's why the MacBook Pro is there.
Yeah. And I mean, take a look at this. Look what I just found. Best Buy has the base model 14-inch for $17.99. So, think about this. If you are tempted to get the MacBook Air with 16 gigs of memory and 512 gigabytes of storage, you're saying, okay, I like the MacBook Air. I can deal with that stuff. I don't need a ton of performance, but I think extra RAM would help, and I think that extra storage would make a difference. I need to store a lot of files. That's $16.99. This is $17.99. For $100, you can let me run through the checklist, shall I? Because I think you're gonna see why you don't want to spec out a MacBook Air. That extra $100 for the same storage and the same RAM gets you more and more powerful GPU cores. You get more CPU cores with about, I think it ends up being around 20% faster CPU and like 35% or 40% faster GPU. Okay. So right off the bat for $100, that's a good deal. But you're also getting a larger display that's also mini LED and ProMotion. You're getting better speakers, significantly better speakers, the better microphones. You're getting more ports. You're getting the same or better battery life, because I actually found that the base model 14-inch has better battery life than what Apple claims because it doesn't use as much power. Oh my gosh. That's a massive list of improvements. You get more performance, better display, ProMotion, more ports. What? Heck yeah. Absolutely, I'm going to take that deal. It's not as new or as like, latest and greatest, because the MacBook Air is the talk of the town right now, but if given the choice, you should absolutely upgrade to the 14-inch if you get anywhere near that price point.
Yeah, I think the Air is great if you get it as the base model, and you say, if you're the target audience for the Air, and there are a lot of people who are the target audience for that Air, and a lot of them are not listening to this podcast,
Yep.
tuning in live or whatever. Most of them are not. Most of the people that are watching this are probably either not in the target audience, or they don't want to be in the target audience, because they want to get the fancier and cooler stuff, which, that means they're not in the target audience. But there are a lot of people that are, and they would be perfectly happy with the base model, and those people should get it, and they will be absolutely thrilled. But like you
Hmm.
said, if you're starting to spec up, there's a lot of benefits that the Pro gives. Another one I'll throw in is better thermals, and obviously you get better performance, and there's better support in there for the performance. The chip is already better itself, and you have better thermals and whatever, so you're going to end up with better performance across the board. And so yeah, if you start specking out the MacBook Air, then you're probably going to want to look at the Pro.
And if you want something that's really cheap, then you should probably just get the old M1 MacBook Air, because those are, dude, have you seen the deals on the M1 MacBook Air?
I'm curious, but I have not.
I have seen them as low as, what do they have? Best Buy has it for like 900. Apple's own refurbished store has them for 850 pretty regularly. It's I've seen them as low as like right now they're not on sale. I think probably because there's like a purchasing cycle that's going on and people are like, "Ooh, the new MacBook's out." And then they see like, "Oh, wait, I'm not going to buy that." So, might as well just get the previous one and then the prices for those go up. But
Yeah.
I have seen them down to like 750. And what? Wait. That looks suspicious. Let me share my screen here. This is very suspicious, but there's a site that I've never heard of that claims to be selling an M1 MacBook Air for $500.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Are we what is this a legitimate site? Who what how are that can't be real. $500?
Is that supposed to be new or pre-owned?
Who is Best Buy Saver? Which is not the name of the website. So that's always good when the about uses a name that isn't the actual domain. Look, email support is contact@bestbuysaver.com, but that's not the URL of this website. I, mm, I don't know
I think
about this.
I think you need to order one to see what happens.
I don't know about that. What is
Uh,
this site? Oh no. Welcome to, I don't know how to say it, Jackarer.
I don't know.
Welcome to the website. Take your Timmer to browse our collection.
Wait, scroll down a little bit. I see some MacBook Pros there.
Look how everything is so bad. 16-inch M1 Pro for $1,400.
Mm,
I don't think so. Not to mention that they don't know how to crop because all of these images are heinously cropped.
yeah. Yikes.
RTX 3070 HP Omen for $950. That's okay. Well, never mind, because we just found a scam website. Should I
Yeah.
make a video
Yeah.
trying to buy something from there?
I think it would be fun. I think it would end poorly, but I think it would be funny. Buy it on a credit card and do a chargeback, honestly. You could do it.
Someone said to use my privacy account. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, you could.
I wonder if they would even send you anything.
Yeah, I don't know how that's supposed to work. I don't know what you would get.
A bag of poop.
A box of rocks.
Ah,
It's the approximate weight of a MacBook
yeah.
Air.
And shape. It's actually gravel in a very thin bag. And then they put an Apple sticker on it, and they call it Space Gray.
You know,
Because the rocks.
if they made yeah, that's very funny. If they
Yeah,
made
yeah.
a MacBook Air replica
Hmm.
out of rocks, and then they shipped you that, that might be worth
Hmm.
$500 right there. That's like a piece of art right there.
It's modern art, is what it is. I think I could probably uh, sell that as an NFT for 500,000
I mean, if it's an NFT, you could sell it for millions.
million, 2, 5, 12, 100 million.
It's all made up.
It's all made up video game money anyway. It's all V-Bucks, guys. It doesn't matter. What was it? Wasn't there that one person that lost like $500,000 on one of those little monkey guys?
One, I'm sure it was more than one person, but I think I know. I'm sure more than one person has lost. I read stories like that all the time of people who like get tricked by scammers or
Mm.
whatever, and then they sell at like a huge loss and they just like lose a ton of money on it.
And then a bunch of people are getting like heisted. Like even
Yep,
like
yep.
fancy ass people are getting like scammed out of their $300,000 NFTs.
You know what I heard? And I don't want to derail the conversation, but I just want to say this. I read something. I think this is what it was. It was something like one of the Paul brothers. Uh, because they're into NFTs, or one of them's into NFTs. I don't remember which one it was, but they made a post and they were like, I bought this NFT and then sold it and lost a ton of money. So to commemorate this, I'm launching a line of 100 NFTs that commemorate me losing all this money on this one NFT. And it was like a new NFT
Bro,
launch. Like the dumbest.
I'll tell
So
you what
dumb.
though, that's definitely not a desperate attempt to get the money that you lost back. Definitely not what's going on there.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my god.
Commemorative NFT to commemorate losing money on an NFT. That is, oh God, we're screwed. You do realize, right, that we're absolutely screwed as a humanity?
It's scary how much money is in crypto and how much like a lot of stuff's been going wrong, because I'm following this stuff a little bit, but a lot of stuff, a couple of high profile companies went bankrupt, and there's a lot of money in crypto, and it is kind of scary.
How I wonder what the total Bitcoin market cap. What is it right now? So, okay. A cool $392 billion just in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, dude. And that's the, okay, look. We had Sam on last week, and I know he likes crypto, but not to the point of being like a crazed person. But I've had this argument with him that Bitcoin is literally just like a goofy, weird stock. That's all it is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know people think it's cool. It's a goofy stock. That's all it is.
Yeah, I understand the theory of like how it can be used, how it can be more than that. If you're in a country where you can't use or don't want to use your government's, form of currency. Like that part I understand, but the way that it's used today in the vast majority of situations is completely removed from that, and it is just
Yeah.
just a stock.
And like, here's the thing that gets me. Every time people are like, "Oh, bro," but it's they're always like, "Dude, cryptocurrency, you have to understand. Cryptocurrency is decentralized, so the government doesn't spy. First of all, you report it on your taxes. So, what are you even talking about?" But they're like, "Hey. It's the best part about crypto is that it's a currency, but it's not in like a bank currency. So like so so what makes that it's really cool because it's anywhere, bro. It's in the blockchain, it's in the cloud. It's You can use it at a gas station in Mozambique if you wanted to, and you could buy anything. Bro, imagine one day you could buy a house and it's Bitcoin house, and you have a room where you put all your Bitcoins in the room in the house, in the Bitcoin house. I'm like, bro, first of all, slow down. Take a breath. All right? Second of all, dumb, stupid, bad idea, not a good idea. I don't like that. Here's
Uh-huh.
why. Noah, would you like to buy this Tesla? Price 1 Bitcoin.
Well, how much is a Bitcoin, and how much is it going to be tomorrow?
I don't know. It
It's a gamble.
could be $15,000 Tesla. Hey, you want that, right? You want a $15,000 Tesla?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
I'd
but
take
hey,
that.
pranked. It's $150,000 Tesla now. Suck it, you idiot. You suck. We got your money. Like, look. If I'm gonna buy, imagine this. Imagine this, folks. Last what was it? Last February when Bitcoin was at 65K. You're like, oh, heck yeah, bro. Oh, hell yeah, that's sick. I bought my new Model 3 I paid 1 Bitcoin for it for my Model 3 Performance. It was $65,000. That 1 Bitcoin is now half of that, which means if you want to buy the same car now, you got to pay 2 Bitcoin for it. So if you bought it last year, then you're probably okay with that. But if you buy it now and you spend 2 Bitcoin on it, and then it goes back to $65,000, then you're going to be like, oh no, I accidentally spent $120,000 on a Tesla Model 3. Like
Yeah, it
the value changing makes it useless as a currency.
the problem is that it turns every transaction into a gamble because you're basically if you buy something for an amount of bitcoins, you're essentially gambling that the value of Bitcoin is not going to increase, because if it increases, then you could have waited and paid less or whatever. And it's
Exactly.
just, I don't know, it turns everything into a gamble. It's just dumb. Because then I was just thinking, like, one of the big things about Bitcoin is, like, hodl, like hold your bitcoins and
Yeah.
don't sell them, let them, whatever. That's basically, if you think about that in terms of currency, that's basically saying, take all your money and hide it under your mattress, which is never
Yeah.
that's never like good advice for like actual money. So if Bitcoin is
Mhm.
supposed to be a currency, why is that, like, if so many people are doing that, that doesn't line up with an actual currency. There's just a lot of, I know we're getting so derailed, but I love getting derailed into this topic because I think it's so funny.
It's hilarious, dude. It's utterly hilarious. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I don't really have anything inherently wrong. I don't have anything against cryptocurrency. I have Bitcoin, but I got Bitcoin because I was like, I would like to purchase this for an amount of money and then sell it for a greater amount of money, also
Hmm.
known as an investment. It's an investment. People, even crypto bros, will be like, "Oh, bro, you got to invest in Bitcoin." I'm like, "Bro, that's a stock. You're describing a stock." And then people, like, the only possible way that that Bitcoin is useful as a currency is if you were like, if I had to buy something with Bitcoin right now. Let's say it costs $3,000, and they're saying, "All right, buy this with Bitcoin." I'm not going to take that out of the Bitcoin that I've been holding, because, like most people, my Bitcoin is down like a crap ton right now over the past year. So if I buy it with that $3,000, then I'm cementing like 2 grand in losses on that amount of Bitcoin. So I'm not going to do that. The only possible way that I would use Bitcoin in a transaction right now is essentially taking currency, dollars, buying the Bitcoin, and then transferring that Bitcoin immediately. So there's no time for the value to change and the amount of money that I'm sending to be completely different. That is not that is not a currency. That's just like a middleman.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's like if someone tells you to invest in pesos or invest in euros or something, like that doesn't make sense. So if someone tells you to invest in Bitcoin and people are investing in Bitcoin, it's something different.
Bitcoin. Anyway, that concludes the cryptocurrency corner,
I
also
feel
known
like
as the
that
Triple C.
that could be that, not that it has to be a weekly thing, but I feel like we get derailed enough that I think it deserves a name. So the crypto corner?
Yeah, the crypto
I like
corner.
that.
I
I
like
like
that.
that. All right.
And then we'll just have a little jingle. Da-na-na-na-na. That's the cryptocurrency corner jingle.
So if you hear
So
that,
thank
then
you
you
all
know
for
what you're in
joining.
for.
Exactly. And then the number of viewers is going to go, "Ooh,"
Yeah.
and then
We
whoop,
can.
and now we're back. Whoa, hello. You know what we should talk
we-
about, Noah?
What's that?
Thermal throttling.
Of course, it's on everyone's minds.
Exactly. It was on your mind for a while because you had the infamous 2018 Core i9 Toasty Boy.
Oh yes, that one heated my home for a while it was in use.
Hmm. Did you? I mean, did you? I don't. I know that you probably didn't do stuff that was like absolutely maxing the CPU for long periods of time. But did you notice the thermal deficiency on that laptop?
Oh, I mean, it would get hot to the point where you couldn't comfortably have it on your lap, or like you'd touch, the strip above the keyboard, like on the lower part, but above the keyboard, like you touch that strip, and I think there's like some components there, and that would be like scalding hot to the touch. That thing got hot. That thing definitely got hot.
Dude. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I always notice. I used to have I never had the Core i9 version, but I briefly had an i7 version of the 2018. But I do have the 2019 15-inch with the 8 core i9. Um and yeah, it every time I go back to it, I'm always like, "Oh, it can't be that bad." It it's just 3 years old. It can't be that terrible. And then I am like, I have like three Safari tabs open, and it's hot, and the fan starts going like, wee, and I'm like, oh my god, we really put up with that for 5 years while that generation of MacBook was around.
Yeah, yeah, that was a rough generation in a lot of ways. Touch bar and ports and thermals and that was a rough generation.
And I will say it is quite amusing to me now that we are once again talking about thermal throttling, but it is in a very different context. The MacBook Air thermal throttling is nowhere near as important as the MacBook Pro because this isn't really designed to be a pro laptop. I mean, heck, it doesn't even have a fan. And yet, ironically, it's actually more powerful even without a freaking fan than the 2018 Core i9 MacBook Pro that thermal throttled. It's
Yep.
hilarious.
Yep. It's pretty crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, thermal throttling is definitely a thing. I don't know, Noah, if you saw my day one video and my torture test.
That one I don't think I saw.
So, it's a fanless laptop, right? That means the only way it can cool itself down is by trying to put out as little heat as possible and then just hoping that the air around it is cooler than it. That's that's basically all it can do. And so you're like, okay, that's probably fine if you're like doing MacBook Air stuff on it, a little bit of Photoshop, a little bit of Adobe Illustrator, uh, typing up some documents, you're totally good. But Noah, I hear you asking, what if you want to absolutely pin the system while sitting outside in direct sunlight while it's 90 degrees out?
That is a legitimate question that I would ask.
Exactly. Because I know you, Noah, and you just absolutely love to go sit out in the hot, hot park and run Cinebench back to back.
You say it's only partially ironic because I do like to sit outside in the hot sun and use my computer,
Oh
but
no.
maybe not run
Okay,
Cinebench
so
back to back.
yay. Well, you know what? Honestly, I'll take that because maybe that's not a completely ridiculous hypothetical. Because look at that, ladies and gentlemen, we have found an individual who likes to go and sit out in the hot, hot sun and use their computer. And
Yeah.
how does your computer do outside in the hot, hot sun, Noah?
Well, the 2019 MacBook Pro that I use for work, it doesn't do great. I mean, it could be
Oh
worse,
no.
but it doesn't do great, honestly.
Does it get real hot?
It gets pretty hot. The screen definitely dims down quite a bit. Uh, you
Fan go
know,
crazy?
yeah, the fan. I mean, it
Hmm.
all happens. Battery life isn't the best either. Um, but it happens.
See, Mikael here lives in Greenland, and they don't have a hot sun. So I guess a MacBook Air would do great there, because the MacBook Air is actually allergic to hot sun. So basically, Noah, what I did was I just went outside, sat in the hot sun, put on Cinebench, and the MacBook Air, I think, probably almost had a heat. I think it had heat stroke. It was
Oh
bad.
no. Is it okay?
It's okay now. It's recovered. I gave it a nice cool glass of water. Just poured that right in the vent.
That'll do
Um,
it.
that it cools it off real quick, and they love it. It sometimes it like it like goes to sleep or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm so refreshed. I gotta like shut off for a bit.
Yeah, some
But that's
people like
fine.
it's a common misconception. People say never, water and computer don't mix. If the thing's hot
Mm.
enough, the water is just going to go right through. It'll cool it
Mm.
down, but it's too hot to damage the computer, right? So the water just goes right through. That's why
Exactly.
there's water cooling in computers. That's how it works. The water goes on the components, but the components are hot enough that the water doesn't actually, damage them
Oh,
or
we
anything
lost our
like
first
that.
wall panel. I'm impressed that we made it all this time. That's
Yeah, I
pretty
know.
impressive.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. As Noah said, water is actually good for computers. They like it. Um, but you've actually just been brainwashed into thinking that they don't. I mean, it's called water cooling for a reason, folks.
Yeah,
We
it's
all know
Big
it.
Fan. Big Fan has perpetrated these lies to sell more computer fans.
It's all lobbying. Yeah. So, there's wall panel 2. Very quick.
Yep.
I guess the adhesive tape thermal throttled.
I could, the friction,
Mm.
coming down the wall. I
Hmm.
could see that. I could see that, heating it up.
Yeah, exactly. The friction heats it up, and then you can put water on it. So yeah, so basically, what happened when you take your MacBook Air with no fan out in the sun? I see Noah quietly coughing, and another wall panel fell off.
Yep.
Oh no. He was muted for that too, so podcast listeners are going to be so confused. But basically,
Yeah.
Noah, after about 2 minutes, it disabled all of the performance cores.
Oh, all of them.
Yeah. So
Oh.
it started out and it was like hell yeah, we're gonna go performance for about 30 seconds, and then it was just kind of like, oh god, oh no, oh it's so hot, oh it's so hot. And so the CPU was like, all right, kill it, no, everyone needs to go home. It's Chernobyl is happening in here. We gotta leave. And so all the little CPU molecules went home to take a nap and a nice glass of water. And basically, what happened was the entire system, keep in mind, full load CPU is usually like 18 watts. The CPU with the hot sun was at 1.7 watts
Oh
of power
no.
consumption.
That's like nothing.
Yeah, so even the efficiency cores, which were the only ones active, were thermal throttled. And the score, which is usually like 8,300, went down to 4,800. So it literally progressed. It regressed back in time. It went from M2 all the way back to like a Core i5. Whoa, that's that is an interesting. I've never seen a wall panel do that before. Also, Noah, why are they all falling off in the last like 2 minutes?
I don't know. I genuinely
What
don't
did you
know.
do?
I put them all up at the same time and they're all the same tape. I don't know. But this one, I'm waiting for it to hit my head because I know it's going to happen.
It's only a matter of time. Bro, we literally lost 5 wall panels in like a minute.
Yeah, that was someone said I think there was some jinxing going on in the live chat. I think that
Yeah.
might have been the issue.
There it goes. That's my impression of Tim Cook doing the 2015 Retina MacBook thing. Remember that?
What was that?
When Okay, I'll pull up the clip. No, I won't, because then I have to download the audio and edit it in. But I don't want to do that. So it was Tim Cook, and he shows the MacBook, and in 2015 at the keynote, and he goes, "Can you even see it?" It's because it's so thin, and then he shuts it, and he makes like a little face, and he goes, "There it goes."
That's I mean, I
Bro, how do
obviously
you
that
not remember
happened.
that?
Bro, how do you remember that? That's like I
It's
remember
so
like
funny.
it is funny, but like that I don't remember that. I don't think anyone remembers that. I think you're just weird.
Everyone remembers that.
People in the live chat.
Everyone.
People, do you remember that? Be honest. You don't remember that. Luke, I understand you
Don't be
remember that.
afraid to remember that.
No, don't no one remembers that. No.
Okay. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to do it.
I believe you. I believe you that it happened. Absolutely.
It's so funny.
So let's take a look inside, because what's on the inside is just. It is unbelievable. Can you even see it? I can't even feel it. There it goes. I'd like.
See, it's an iconic moment. I can't believe that you don't remember that. Look, Toad remembers it.
No, but you got to look at the comment, the new comment.
Hey, all right. Now that still counts. That
Just
still
because
counts.
you're the only person that remembers. If anyone else remembers it, it's because of you. It's like through you.
No.
It was a forgotten thing, and you sort of dug it up, like archaeology, and you
No.
exposed it to other people, and then maybe you brought it back, maybe not. We'll see about that.
Oh no, and DJ Craze, I thought that he was referencing it. I thought it was a reference, but he didn't even watch it.
See, I'm telling you.
I don't get why I have such an encyclopedic memory of like Apple events and Apple things. And car stuff too.
And car stuff. I mean, that's at least for the Apple stuff. It's served you well, and I feel like you probably had that before, even before all the YouTube stuff. But it's definitely served you well, with your channel and just quickly knowing, things like that.
It's true. I mean, Apple trivia games, you don't want to get into a fight with me on that because I'll cream you.
I believe you. I would not do well up against you in an Apple trivia.
But dude, we literally watched that event together in high school, and we both really wanted the Retina MacBook, but couldn't afford it or justify it, or in fact, probably we were probably best that we didn't get it because it was bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was like 6 or 7 years ago. I don't even remember. My memory in general is pretty bad. So
You're an old man.
Well, I guess so.
Too much time out in the hot sun. It melted your brain juice.
There might be something to that.
I think there is. But you know what else there is something to, and that is the MacBook Air thermal throttling controversy. See, you thought I was going to end it, but it's not time yet. I heard you laughing.
10 minutes.
Exactly.
Regardless of whether you're going to end it or not, that is that you got to appreciate the transitions. That was good practice for, you only get one shot per episode, so it's good to have some practice in there.
Yeah, you know what else there is some practice in there for?
What's that?
Practice in there for me generating additional transitions. Additional and additional. You know what else is additional? Is
What?
you know what else is an additional transition? Is me transitioning
What?
away from talking about additional transitions back to talking about MacBook Air thermal throttling. Boom, there it is. Still got it. You know what
Nice,
else I still
nice.
got? The M2
What?
MacBook Air. It's still in my hands.
And you know what else is in your hands?
What?
This episode, because you're really leading, you're really taking it here, and you're really leading it. I don't know where we're going with this, but you're really taking us somewhere with all this right now.
You know where else I'm going to take us with all this right now?
Where?
Back to the MacBook Air, baby. I'm still. It's recursive. All right, we're going back. The MacBook Air is good. All right, back to you, Noah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered the MacBook Air thermal throttling. We've talked about the MacBook Air. We've got 9 minutes left, approximately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else?
These are the last
there?
9 minutes of our podcast for the next 3 weeks. I feel like we should make it count.
That's true, yeah, because we are going to be off, and maybe you'll have a guest on 1 or 2 of those weeks, but at least for me, this is my last 8.5 minutes now. I think we should just keep talking about that. Just how little time is left.
You know, some say that we're down to only 8 1/3 minutes left.
Oh man, I can't. Oh, and now we have, what is this? 8 1/4 minutes.
That's terrible, dude. Do you remember back when it was 8.5 minutes ago? It feels like that was just 18 seconds ago.
Those were simpler times. I miss that.
Oh my god. You know what's gonna blow your mind?
What?
We only have 8 minutes now.
Oh no.
Now that I've said that, it's less than 8 minutes. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's
remember
just
back-
happening so fast.
I know, they grow up before your eyes. Do you remember back in 2013?
Yeah.
Me too.
But
now we have
more
7.5 minutes.
Okay, wait. MacBook Air launch day, you had a story.
Oh my god! You saved the day. I forgot about that.
We need to hear this story.
All right. So pretty much I have this down to a science now. Every time there's a Mac product launch, what I do is I pre-order on pre-order day. And then because, it's me, it's LukeMianaYouTube.com. I always have lots of MacBooks coming in and out and all around. Okay. So I don't put all my eggs in that one basket. I pre-order on pre-order day. But then if I were to just wait for that to show up, I'd be sitting around twiddling my thumbs, waiting on a UPS driver who's going to probably, beat up my MacBook and kick it around and run it over a couple of times in the old UPS truck before absolutely throwing it at my window, shattering it, ruining my day. So rather than waiting for all of that nonsense, I go out and get another one. So in this particular case, I wanted to get 2 MacBook Airs. All right. A base model with the 8-core GPU and the 256 and the 10-core. Simple, right? Pre-order day comes along. I decided that I should pre-order the higher spec one because in my mind, the bog standard base model is the one that there would be more likely to have stock of on launch day. So, sure enough, launch day comes around. Now, it is annoying. It's always a bit of a risk because I'm planning my content schedule based on a MacBook that I don't actually have an order for, right? So I'm planning all of these comparison videos and stuff, and I don't actually have an order placed or a pickup window reserved because Apple doesn't open the launch day inventory until that day. So what I do is wake up at 8 a.m., because sometimes it doesn't even let you order for in-store pickup until like an hour before the store is open. So I wake up really fast, reserve one. Usually you have to pay for it in full at that moment because you're just picking it up. And then, so that's what I did. I picked it up. I had a 9:45 pickup time. I go to the old Apple store. I'm strutting in there. I'm like, I would like my MacBook, please. And they said, it's out of stock.
What?
And I was like, what are you talking about? It's out of stock. I ordered it. And it said to pick up here. What are you talking about? And they're like, we don't have any. And I was like, well, but I put in the order. And they said, no, well, it's still processing. And we just went to the old back room, and there's literally no MacBook Airs back there. So this order is not going to process because there's nowhere for us to pull inventory from. We don't have them. And I was like, that's not good. And so we looked on they have like the thing they could look at the other store inventory. So I was in Virginia, Arlington, Virginia, and they say, okay, Bethesda, Maryland has one. That's like a 35-minute drive around Washington, D.C. So I'm like, okay, reserve. And I book it all the way around to Bethesda, Maryland. I go in there, same thing.
What?
They said it's not here, it doesn't exist. But fortunately, Noah, I was smart. I was a smart guy. All right. There was another store within a couple miles of the Bethesda store that also claimed to have one. So I had ordered that as well. So the Bethesda store said, sorry, we don't have this. We only have the higher spec model. So we can make a reservation for you to get the higher spec model. So I say, okay, let me reserve the higher spec model. But then they didn't have someone to help me complete my sales experience for another hour. So they had it in the back, but I couldn't buy it for another hour. I don't know why.
Bruh.
So they said, okay, come back in an hour. So during that time, I drive over to the other Apple store where I had another one reserved, go in. They say, no, it's out of stock. We don't have this. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess now I'm going to go back to the other store in Bethesda to try to pick up the one that I reserved, which wasn't the one that I wanted. And then I got there, and then the original one that I had reserved, the base model in Bethesda, the one that they said they didn't have, they say, it's ready for pickup. Come get it. And I'm like, what? And then the other store, the freaking other store, also in Maryland, that I had just went to, they called me and said, it's ready for pickup. I'm like, bro, why are you guys telling me that you don't have this thing when you clearly have this thing? What are you talking about? And then I'm like, well, crap. Have I been running around this whole time? And my original order from like 2 hours ago, if I had just waited like 10 minutes, the person who told me it was out of stock would have then said, just kidding, it's here. Isn't that crazy?
It seems like maybe, okay, I remember back in the days of the original AirPods when they were super hard to find, the way that I was able to get mine was I used this tracking thing, and they would know when a new shipment would come in. And you would literally, when a new shipment of AirPods came in, you would go to the Apple store and you'd ask for AirPods, and they'd be like, oh, maybe they'd say they don't have them. And you'd be like, no, I know you just got a shipment. Can you go check? And then they check and find them. I wonder if when you got there, they hadn't gotten the shipment yet, and then they just got the shipment shortly after, and that's why they were suddenly in stock. That's my theory.
That must have been it. I think it was something like that where my reserving it removed it from inventory, and then they thought they didn't have it, but they did, and it was already reserved, but it was reserved by me, but they just didn't know that. It was all very weird. And I'm sorry, I got distracted there because someone was talking about Luke Miani shorts being recommended to them, and it's definitely Luke making the videos. It's not. I've never heard of that. I did not know that that's real, and I looked it up, and someone has made a Luke Miani Shorts channel, and it has 150 subscribers, and I've literally never. What? It's real, but it is not me.
I like
What
the
the heck?
pictures. I like the both the icon and the banner image.
I want to see what
What the
email
heck?
address they put in. They did, however, say this is not Luke Miani at the very bottom of their about page.
I love
And
all this space.
they made Luke Miani Shorts at gmail.com.
Interesting.
What the heck? Well, that's really funny. I was so confused when people were like, "Oh yeah, the Luke Miani Shorts channel." I was like, what's that?"
Well, yeah, this is
Anyway,
weird.
You know what else is weird, Noah?
What else is weird, Luke?
I'll give you a guess.
I think it's weird that we haven't ended this episode despite being more than a minute over time.
Does that mean, Noah, that we lied when we said that there was only 8.5 minutes left and there was in fact 9.5 minutes because of this error?
I mean, you could argue maybe it was unforeseen, but regardless, our initial statement is now incorrect.
Criminal negligence. That's what that is.
We should remedy this at once.
I agree. We should end this episode. Neither of us will be seeing you next week. Noah will be off for 2 additional weeks after that. I think I'll probably have a guest on one or both of those weeks, but we will not see you next week. And make sure to follow on Twitter at Luke Miani. Follow the community tab. I'll post updates about if we get guest stars or if we're off in the coming weeks. So definitely keep tabs on that. I've been your host, Lucas Mianis.
And I have been your host. I feel like that doesn't work with my name.
It doesn't.
Noah Rubinus. And have a great night and a great couple of weeks.
Have a great month.
Yeah.
I accidentally put this StreamYard in full screen. I don't know how to get out.
Bottom right corner, maybe.
Oh, I got it. Bye.